So, hello.
Hiya.
Hi.
Hello. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
After you.
Okay, I'm Deb John, and I'm half of Cold Dark North, and I organise the racing.
Director of Racing and Going Fast.
Absolutely.
So I'm Toby Cummins. I'm the other half of Cold Dark North. I tend to look after the more jokey social side of things, the route planning and making swag and t-shirts and stickers and things, the fun stuff.
So, how do you guys know each other then?
Well, actually, it's longer. It's longer ago than I think because the time has passed so quickly.
But you're so young.
Really, absolutely.
Well, we met in 2014, 2015, around then.
Yeah.
We both had mutual contacts through an events company called Hot Chili, who ran kind of the original London to Paris with Outriders and closed roads and all that kind of malarkey, which I'd done a couple of times, and Deb had done their other event called the Alpine Challenge. And as you can probably tell from my voice, I'm a southerner, but moved up north 6 years ago. And when I moved up, a mutual contact put us in touch, and we started riding together. We were both riding for the Loon at the time, and just started riding together and thought this might be quite a good idea.
Yeah, we just clicked because we do quite separate things with it, and they really complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go anywhere near the social media. In fact, Toby would tell you that it's really difficult to get a photograph out of me, and he has to remind me to take photos.
She actually went out on a ride recently with a sticker on her top tube saying "Take photos," which was handy. Actually, you did take some photos. It was really helpful.
So yeah, and Tobes is. I mean, I don't think you really enjoy you have a day job. You don't really want to do all the organising that a race would involve, and I quite like doing that. I'm a circuit comm as well,
Right.
so I know a lot of the officials.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it works better that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's absolutely right. I don't want to do the organising of the races. Puts in a lot of work when they come round. So
No, I'm part of a racing syndicate, and I do feel the pain of putting on races. I'm currently being badgered to make my race go live on BC right now, so yeah, I know the pain of putting on races.
It's a good process.
But no, you guys, I kind of got in touch with yourselves because you do kind of reflect a little bit onto what we do, but you're in your also unique kind of way. So why don't you start with the races, shall we?
Okay.
And what makes you tick and what makes you want to put on? What makes a good race?
Oh, what makes a good race is great comms, great NEGs, people who really know what they're doing, the experience and the expertise. And the volunteers you get to help, who do the sign-on and help with the food, etc., etc. The riders are always difficult if you try to listen to the comms, but the riders, they will come and they're wonderful. You know, we've been lucky in our races to have some people who've gone on to World Tour teams, some people who still race in national teams, and quite a lot of young riders who are really promising. And I like that. I like that they're local races, and I can watch riders go through the ranks and really succeed. It's tremendously satisfying and exciting.
and really tough courses as well.
Do you create the courses?
The courses are risk assessed already by BC, so you have a certain number you can choose from for road races.
So you've not made the race course then?
No, we haven't.
So you're not responsible for that tough climb or anything. You can't be shouted at there.
We've not made the courses, but we have decided where they finish for our races. So if you take Oakenclough, we finish at the top of the hill, whereas traditionally quite often they finish on the straight with a sprint.
Right.
Yeah. And that was a little bit because who doesn't want a race that finishes on the top of a hill?
Yeah.
You know, you need to suffer in a race.
The riders are the people who don't want that.
And for all the judges and the comms, it's much easier and it's kind of safer because you don't get this crazy sprint at the end.
Yeah.
So we could have chosen a flat course because there are flat courses around here, but we never have.
Not when there's beautiful hills.
No, exactly.
Not when there's beautiful hills.
Exactly.
No. So, what makes a good route?
A good for just riding out.
Yeah.
We
start with Blessed Are the Route Makers first, shall we?
Yeah, well, so one of the things that I love most about what we do is kind of providing people with the opportunity to find places that they probably wouldn't find if they were just going on Strava and saying, right, I want to get from, I don't know, Sedbergh to Kirby Lonsdale or something like that. You know, they probably miss Barbendale. They just go down the A road, between the two places. And actually, not only can you go over Barbendale, but you can also go to a great cafe in Barben that you'd probably miss even if you had gone over Barbendale. So, just as one example, it's that opportunity to show people great experiences that they wouldn't normally find. I've lived up here for 6 years. I've probably ridden 50,000 kilometres of local roads in that time. Deb's been here longer than I have and has nicely cornered off the southern half of our territory, because we kind of think, I don't know, I always say we go from the Atlantic to Aysgarth and from Preston to Penrith, so that's a big space. And if you look at our collective heat maps, we've kind of covered most of it. There aren't that many roads we haven't ridden, so we sort of know where's good and where's not.
Yeah.
So to answer your original question though, what makes a good route? Some hills, some nice pretty bits to look at, and a good cafe or two.
Yeah.
Would be my assessment anyway.
And what about you then? What would make a good
route? I like hills. I don't like really steep hills. I like longer hills.
What's your favourite climb then?
Well, one of my favourite climbs is the Bowland Knots.
Yes.
Just because it's...
Which side of Bowland Knots?
From the Bentham side.
Yes.
I think it's a really lovely climb.
Never ends.
No, it doesn't. It's wonderful. It goes on and on and on.
And then you go round the corner and you're like, I'm sure this was closer last time.
I hate Bowland Knots. It's my least favourite climb in the area. I like the Cross of Greek from Slowburn coming up that way.
I like that one
is
too.
my favourite climb.
I like that one too.
But Bowland Knots is always almost always into a headwind.
But you don't get a downhill after the Cross of Greek, do you?
I don't know. You get that nice long windy bit down towards Tatham Fell.
Yeah, no, but you don't get after you
don't get
summit Cross of Greek.
Yeah,
you don't get the same descent that you've worked for.
True.
No, you don't.
You got that fast bit at the bottom where you launch, and you always launch off that bit, that little lump, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't. You're like, and then you just end up with this like little false climb afterwards, don't you?
Yeah.
Where you're like, I should be downhilling right now.
Definitely should still be going downhill.
Yeah.
The view's great though. That view looking north up to the Dales.
And you do feel like you're on an alpine climb as you're kind of going up through the valley.
Yeah.
So, 2021. We're coming out of lockdown. We're actually able to do things like this right now. What are the plans for Cold Dark North?
Well, in the summer we tend to focus on the racing more, and we've got our racing schedule sorted. They're registered and they're just waiting to go live.
Okay. Are you able to give the dates?
Yeah, on the 11th of July we have the Women's Masters. Then on the 25th of July we have Cape and Ray. And on the 7th and 8th of August we have the Men's Masters. There's so many men we have to run over 2 days.
Right.
And this year we're doing a new one on the 4th of September, and that will be the Emergency Services Championships.
Okay. Are you able to elaborate on that?
Yes, it was the fire service that got in touch with us. It's the fire service, the police, and the ambulance service.
Okay.
And they put on a championship every year, and each service awards medals for their championship.
Right.
So we'll put that on with a
Is that a
support
national?
race. For them, yes, it is. It will be the national championships for each of those services.
Right. I used to work in the NHS until 2 weeks ago, and I didn't actually know that existed.
You could have entered as an ambulance or an NHS worker.
I could. Technically, I still work for the NHS,
Well,
but only on the staff bank. No,
It's not live on BC yet. Anyway.
it's not live on BC yet. No,
It will be soon. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will be.
So that's on the racing calendar.
Yeah.
What about is there any social things or anything that people can get involved in?
Yeah, so we don't have anything scheduled at the moment because it's a bit difficult to plan things as you're experiencing with your own events. It's difficult to plan the social things, and actually I think at the moment a lot of people are coming out of lockdown and just so ecstatic to be able to ride with their clubs or with their groups of friends. Actually, they don't need people like us to arrange social events at the moment.
No.
I definitely think by the end of the summer, we didn't do it last year for obvious reasons, but we've historically done a really good end of season ride where we kind of bring everyone together and ride out into the forest somewhere. usually with some really, really good sponsors who give raffle prizes. So we'll definitely do that again this year, assuming we're able to. We have a relationship with Ribble Cycles as well this year, and they've just opened a brand new store in Clitheroe, which I've not been to yet, but it looks amazing.
I've been there, spent Tuesday last week.
Looks fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're hoping we can use that space as a kind of start and finish social space at some point as well during the year. But yeah, we'll do a couple of things this year, I think. So we'll encourage people to get out and about as much as we possibly can, just by doing campaigns. We've got one running at the moment called the Recaffery Ride, which is all about encouraging people to look at a map that we've created with about 75 cafes in that kind of big area that I was talking about. And if you plan a ride that goes past 2 of those cafes, you get a badge, a little kind of pin badge. I should have brought one with me, but a little pin badge. So that's just trying to encourage people to get out and about, ride the bikes, and obviously support kind of pretty strangled hospitality that we've got. There's some great cafes that we love to visit, and great to be able to support them and try and encourage people to go there now. So we'll do that. We'll definitely plan routes for people if anyone wants help with where to go and how to get there. Even if that's whether that's local people or people coming as tourists, we're going to find that everyone who would have gone to the Algarve or the Alps, the Pyrenees, or
might be coming to the massive Bowland instead of the massive Sancho.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people out and about, and trying to move them around to good places will be good fun this summer, I think.
Fantastic. So if you could go for a ride tomorrow and it wasn't chucking it down, and you started in from Longridge, what kind of route would you take then? Let's just talking, keeping with the hills theme.
See, Longridge is too far south for me.
Is it?
Well, I mean, it's not too far south, but I haven't ridden much beyond Clitheroe to the south, so I'd probably head north, probably go over Waddy Fell, probably head out into the forest and in and around Dunsop Bridge and Slapen, kind of that area. That's what I know.
I can see a little smile there, because you're like, this is my playground.
Well, no,
this is Deb's.
I mean, I'm really lucky to have been riding with a group of friends over the last 4 or 5 years, who's led by a guy who literally knows every single road in the whole area that you've said. So the ride that I've done a few times with him, which is it's always a really demanding ride, but you feel like you've achieved something when you get home, is a ride that goes from Lancaster to Barley and around, and there's I'm sure we do 2,000 metres of climbing in it when we do it, and I always come home feeling really smug, and that's a wonderful thing to have done, and it is a beautiful ride as well. It is a really beautiful ride.
So would you go over Nick of Pendle and then double back through Barley?
Yeah, I think the other way round.
Or you go through Barley and then do Nick on the 14% side?
Yeah.
Yeah. Still not decided which side I like that climb on.
No,
you do it on the steep side, and you've got a really nice dyno, but you've got the steep side. But you do it on a nice long draggy side, which I never seem to struggle going up.
Yeah.
But then you've got this really crazy dyno where you're sure you're going to kill yourself for Northern
Is that down down on the Sabden side?
Yeah, you're descending into Sabden.
Yeah, so every route I've ever done that's come over the Nick of Pendle that way turns right at that junction.
Yeah, into Whalley. Yeah,
and so every time I've done it, you're coming down there at full tilt, and you're like, oh shit, I should have turned right.
No, I did it the other way. I went up the steeper way, because we went from Sabden up at the Nick of Pendle.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a climb that I quite like that we've done in that area was must have been doing that, actually thinking about it, turning right in Sabden, was there's a climb out of Earby coming up. Tour of Britain did it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Horrible rampy thing that just goes on and on and on forever.
Stabby.
Proper stabby. That was a good
proper
one.
Stabby.
Like that one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good climbing then. My memory of the route is there didn't seem to be as much downhill or flat.
No.
It was mostly
flat.
No. Somebody has said about one of my bigger routes that he swears he did about double the climbing to descending.
Yeah.
On there.
See, I think that's good route planning.
That is definitely good route planning. Although, I think it's hell of the Northwest. I think with a route like that, your dynos are spent recovering, and then you're just straight back to suffering straight afterwards. It is a roller coaster. But, yeah. No, but fine. So, going future and beyond then, what are your future plans as Code Dark North?
I think we've always talked about the fact that we're very much a brand, not a business. So both of us have day jobs. You know, I have a young family. We have lots to keep us busy in life. So actually, Cold Dark North is a really nice relief for both of us. For Deb, for running the races. I don't underestimate at all how much work she puts into actually running the races. But you know, that's a nice, not quite a side project,
but it's really enjoyable because I like working with the people I work with, and that makes a massive difference.
And for me, you know, I'm a lawyer by day, so actually the Cold Dark North side of things is really a creative outlet for me. Yeah. So doing all the social stuff, creating all the things that we do is kind of fun. So I think we'll just carry on doing the same as we're doing, really. There's deliberately no plans to grow dramatically. I remember a couple of years ago, Deb rang me out of the blue and said they haven't got a venue for the national men's road race this year. Well, not men's, actually, both. Yeah. As in the proper national road race. And I sort of had to stop her in her tracks and say, Deb, don't be ridiculous, we're not putting on the national road race. Totally right,
when you look at the structure of BC, there's national Bs. And then there's national A's, and you think, oh, that can't be much of a difference between those two. There is a universe of difference, universe. Yeah. So there should be something in between.
Even from all the railings and everything for putting on, and
So I think we'll continue to find fun things to do. A couple of years ago, we got quite heavily involved in. We weren't running it, but we were heavily involved in sponsoring the Struggle Hill climb, which is going to happen again this year, and both of us are going to ride it.
Yeah. Even though I hate steep hills, I'm still going to ride it.
Deb hates steep hills and I'm carrying 90 kilos, so the struggle is not a fun outing for either of us, but it'll be quite fun because we're actually relatively well matched.
Yeah, so we'll have a little competition.
We'll have a little Cold Dark North Championship.
Tandem.
A tandem, oh my God.
I don't think we should do it as a tandem.
No, I don't think we should.
Yeah, because I think Jack, who runs that, has got ambitions for that to be the National Hill Climb in a couple of years.
Right.
So win it's this year, isn't it? But I think in a couple of years, he's hopeful that, and they're having it on closed roads this year for the first time. So
I like Cross the Great for National Hill Climb.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
that'd be good. You'd have to start down at you couldn't start with the descent through the woods though, could you? You'd have to start right down at the bottom.
No, you start it in Sladeburn and make them do
the whole thing.
Yes.
25-minute National Hill Climb.
Yes.
Yeah.
No fixes are going to win it this year.
No. God, I always forget how awful that section is from Sladeburn to the bottom of the Cross the Great.
Yeah, it's
horrible.
It is 2 miles longer than you remember as well.
Yeah.
You're like, right, I'm ready to do the climb now.
Yeah.
I'm ready to do the climb now. I'm sure I passed that barn on the right of the field before.
Well, I've almost always been to there's a nice little cafe just by the riverside in Sladeburn as well.
Beautiful cafe.
Always been there.
Yes.
And then you have that horrible draggy little climb out of Sladeburn in the first place.
Towards Tosside.
Oh,
yes. And then it's just forever and ever and ever until you get to the bottom of Cross the Great. So yeah, that would make a good National Hill Climb.
It would, and there's no signal there, so it would be a nice one that nobody, unless you were there, would know the winner.
Secret winner.
It would be a secret winner. I think there's a signal at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a signal actually in the valley. So that would be interesting.
I don't think there is.
No. I was talking to the guys who do the routes for Tour of Britain the other day because they're coming through Cumbria again and going over Hartside on the way out to Gateshead. And I was saying to Andy who does the routes, how long until we get that hilltop finish at the top of Great Dunfell? And he didn't say no. I mean, it would be impossible.
The wind, I think.
It would be impossible logistically.
Great Dunfell with the wind, because
amazing though. What a great summit finish that would be in a race.
Oh, it would, no doubt. But I think it's the wind that would stop it from, because they did they do it once at the top over Alston and finished at the top there?
They did Hartside, yeah.
Yeah, but they finished at the top of Hartside, didn't
That's
they?
right, yeah.
That's another nice climb because it's
apart from it's an A road.
Yeah, well,
yeah, but it's so if you look at the profile of Hartside, it's 6 kilometres at 5%, and it's never more than 5.2 and never less than 5. It's like a metronome, just straight.
Yeah,
Love
amazing.
and
half an Alpe d'Huez. Do it twice, you've done Alpe d'Huez, and much more pleasant than Alpe d'Huez is rubbish.
How many for an Everest?
I don't know actually. There are a few who've done it though.
Yeah,
it's definitely been done a couple of times. It's not quite steep enough for your usual Everester. They would normally the sort that do Everest would say it's probably a bit too long and a bit too shallow.
Well, I'm going to be publicly saying that I want to do Cross the Great.
That's been done as well, hasn't it?
It has been done, but I'd like to do Cross the Great.
Yeah, it'd be a good one.
For Everesting.
That'd be a good one. How many times? 40 odd?
I can't remember. I did do the maths and I screenshot it.
I think I've looked at that one. I think it was about 40. I'm never going to do an Everest, but I think it was about 40 odd.
Yeah.
That's quite a few times up one
That's a
hill.
lot. That's a real lot.
I had at the end of last year, I noticed that I was just shy of 10,000 meters climbing for the year. So 100,000 meters for the year.
I was about to say that.
10,000 meters for a
so
ride.
much.
Sorry, 100,000 meters for the year. And so I went and did reps of Sunnybank, which is the climb on the Copenhagen Road race circuit. It's right outside my house. So I went and I think I did 10 reps of that on New Year's Eve to make sure I got over the number. And it was -3 by the time I finished. Coming down into the valley, it was like -5. It's horrible. I was like, I've just got to get one more rep. But yeah, don't do your Everest in December.
No. No. Speaking of, so I don't know if you guys are interested. The Rafa 500 that happens.
I've done it one year. I did it.
Yeah. So me and there's a lass called Marcia who did the Lee Jog Lee last year in the reprieve that we had between lockdowns.
Yeah.
So we've basically thought, let's make Everesting easier, Rafa 500 easier for everybody. So we're actually going to let people do it in 36 hours, if you fancy that, between Christmas and New Year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I've never
Possibly
done the Festive 500, but I've got 3 small kids,
So that means that you can actually then spend more time with your kids by getting it done in 36 hours. You see that's.
I know a few people. A friend of mine did it in London in one day. They did a 500k ride and they went around Regent's Park, whatever, probably about 500 times.
They wore right the left hand side of the tyre, did they?
And their brain, I would have thought.
that just sounds really bad.
Yeah, really dire. But yeah, kudos for that. I mean, anyone that does it, well done.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good challenge, that, because it's just pitched at the right level for most people that it's probably
500k is achievable
Yeah.
for a week's riding.
Yeah. For most people, though, you don't have to be a
exactly.
particularly hardy cyclist. I mean, you've got to be pretty hardy with the weather. But
Exactly. I think the weather's the main thing. If you have like 4 days that are really horrible,
they let
then
people
it's
do
a
it
major
indoors as well
achievement.
this year, didn't they? I think for the first
Well,
time.
because with lockdown and everything.
Yeah.
Although the roads were, I was riding my 15-minute ride on my mountain bike with 2.8-inch tyres over December. It was that scary, the roads.
Yeah. No, I don't think I'll do it.
No?
It's kind of you to offer, but I don't think I'll do it.
Ah.
You might just get Deb.
Yeah.
We are making a headquarters and it's going to be a petal formation route,
nice.
which means that you are able to come back and change kit and everything.
Oh, I see.
And have a warm-up and soup and get heckled at.
Are you going to use here as the base?
No, we're actually going to be using the Continental in Preston as the base for that. Mainly because of its proximity to big A roads, you see. So we can put on A roads to get if the weather's bad, and then we can do back roads if the weather's not as bad. And then we're just going to have a load of GPX routes on the website, and then people can just go and pick how they want to go about doing their routes. So,
Good idea.
Yeah, we create the pain and we let people.
I mean, that's pretty much how I plan routes.
Enablers.
Yeah.
Enablers, that's how I see
Pushers.
it.
Yeah,
Push it.
definitely enablers.
Yeah.
I think
We're an
that
enabler
word.
for
I like
people.
that word.
Yeah. You create routes for people and then they come.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, it's the Wayne's World thing, isn't it? If you book them, they will come.
Yeah, exactly that.
No,
exactly that.
I think that's true. About the races, there's always been this, oh, will we get enough people? Oh, will we be able to cover everything? But
If you put on a good
always
race,
happens.
you market it right, they'll come.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And I do think that sometimes, especially with the National Women's and Men's Masters, these are people who might not have ridden around here before and they come up a day or two beforehand or they have a motorhome and they ride the area a little bit. And I think then they're much more likely to come back. I know a couple of people who entered it who've come back to ride the area because it was just really appealing.
Yeah, I find, especially like about 10, 15 years ago, everyone seemed to want to flock towards like Rivington and the West Pennine Moors area.
Yeah.
And like that became almost like a miniature Lake District at one point. You know, it was that compact and dense with people. But I have found, you know, that the solace and everything you can kind of find like around here and even up to like Settleway and everything. Yeah. Like I moved up this way because of how beautiful the riding is just around here. You know.
I'm really lucky. So I live just north of Carnforth. So I've got maybe 20 miles to the heart of the lakes, 20 miles to the heart of the Dales, 20 miles into the forest. or you can go into the sea if you're a mentor. But you know, it's great for being able to do all of those things. And actually, I was looking the other day. I rode 4 times in the lakes last year, and I rode 4 times in the in the Dales proper, not just in the bit that I can get to within 20 miles. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to just on a personal level. I'm really looking forward to getting back out that way and kind of going and doing some of the climbs that I've just haven't done for 3 years.
I normally do the Cumbian 200 Audax.
Yeah.
And I'm really missing that ride. Really, it was just a nice ride that was a bit earlier in the season, and you could just do it. And it was some real nasty climbs and that, and actually you could go, I've got my climbing legs for the year now. It was like an affirmation almost of the ride. Nasty ride was that one. Started going straight from Traitbeck High School, straight up Kirkstone Pass, but past the youth hostel. Yeah. So, and because I'm way next to Night, I always wanted to be the first to the top of Kirkstone Pass, and then just basically crawl the rest of the way round.
Which way do you go down? Struggle or the...
Oh no, straight down Kirkstone Pass, yeah. Normally behind the caravans, but because you can see straight down the valley, you do a 5-car overtake on the wrong side of the road, don't you?
Well, that's like the Fred. I mean, it's like that on the day of the Fred. Both of us used to run the Coal Road Challenge as well, and both of us have ridden it several times. That's a good early season starter, end of February,
It's a very good route. It was devised by Brian Greenwood. His son became a professional rider, and his daughter-in-law now is training the British Olympic squad. And he just said this is a route that covers roads, bad roads, traffic, no traffic, hills, flat bits, and it was a reliability ride to make sure that you were up to scratch for the season.
Yeah.
But it's in February. So
and we were talking before we started filming about Newby Head and that valley from all the way from Ingleton to Hawes. The wind normally follows you from Ingleton to Hawes, but I've ridden it when it's been the other way round, and my God, it's soul destroying because it's falls flat all the way from Ingleton to Hawes, basically. Yeah. Or certainly to the top of Newby Head, you get that lovely descent off Newby Head when you've got a tailwind, but when you've got a headwind, you're still pedalling all the way down, like pedalling through soup. And
it's been done in sunny weather, but freezing. People have been freezing.
Well, the last time we rode it, it was -4 on the day, but it had been dry for 10 days before, so we were like, this is safe, it's fine.
Yeah, we looked at it the day before.
Roads are amazing. We drove it the day before. Roads are amazing, everything's fine. We got to that little bit, just you climb out of Ingleton and onto the top road, and I was riding along. I was probably in the 3rd or 4th group along the road of there's probably 100 people doing it, and suddenly I noticed there were 2 cars in the road, and there's riders everywhere. I'm like, what's happened here? Of course, the waterfall had been spraying and created sheet ice across the road for 10 metres. So it's a 110k ride. There were 4 metres of ice on the entire road, but they were totally across the road.
And they weren't there the night before. No. The day before, it happened in the night.
Nightmare.
So it was, luckily the person, she was okay. She was fine, just cold. So when she came back, we just had to keep her warm for a while with lots of tea and coffee. But it was okay.
Was the only time I've ever ridden up the Coal Road with a tailwind though, so that was good.
Yeah.
Small wins on the day.
Great ride.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We're coming up to about half an hour on the video. I think we've covered everything. Thank you, though, so much for coming down and just talking. Before I do, actually, route planning, though, what software do you like to use for route planning? As one evil route maker to another, basically.
So I've moved around over the years, but for the last 3 or 4 years I've been using Komoot.
Right.
And I think with route planning software, it's that thing of when you find one that you like and you trust it, you can rely on it, you stick with it.
They all have their quirks.
Yeah, they definitely all have their quirks. I mean, I was looking the other day because actually a couple of people asked me for routes this week, so planning a few collections for them coming up for holidays, getting 5 or 6 rides of varying different difficulties and lengths, and I was looking, I've planned over 900 routes on Komoot now, so like I'm familiar with it, I know how it works. Although having said that, I planned a route at the weekend and went and rode up northeast of Kirby Stephen, and it was 100% new roads for me. I managed to route us over gravel for at least a couple of kilometres, so it's not perfect, but I think once you know the area, certainly it's brilliant for being able to plan routes. And I like, with Komoot, the thing that I really like is I can build collections of rides that are packaged in a really beautiful way. So if you come to me and say, can you do me 5 routes in the lakes for a visit in August, I can put together a collection that looks beautiful and has all the tips about where you're going, which cafes you're going to, all that sort of stuff built into it. So it works really well for me.
Cool. I'm still a rider with GPS.
Yeah.
I've just found just being able to use the different maps. I don't use heat maps. I kind of use contour lines and roads and a lot of knowledge, really.
Yeah.
It still has a lot of quirks.
But I mean, I remember a few years ago, Strava was awful for route planning. I mean, really shocking. But I think it's a lot better now. I think they're just generally improving. But once you get embedded with one platform, it's difficult to change. Funnily enough, one of the people who asked me for a route had sent me the routes that they'd planned on Ride with GPS, and I noticed you can do that collections thing on there with nice pretty colours for the different routes and all that sort of stuff. So I think it's each their own. But yeah, I swear by Komoot. It does me proud pretty much all the time.
Yeah. No, like you say, the problem I have is I do a lot of off-road as well as on-road.
Yeah. And
I found that, especially as your company, it's not like you're going out with some mates, and if you end up on a footpath, you're having to be extra careful, and just being able to know your legal maps and everything, really. I know Commute, a few of my friends have had some detours. I'm going to use the detours. But then again, I've had detours with Ride with GPS. I did All Points North, and I ended up on I ended up doing some of the Dirty Reaver on 28C tubeless road tyres with a fully laden bikepacking bike.
Well, that's nearly Princess Gravel, isn't it? Until you run into the hard bits, but...
No, I did. I rim-dinged a few times trying to keep my speed going. Yeah. And then you can't get up any of the climbs on borrowed tyres.
But I mean, I think any route platform is limited on off-road in the UK.
Yeah, and it's also limited just... it's limited by the person that's putting in the data at the end of the day. Yeah. If you don't check, you wouldn't go walking up a mountain without taking a map and reading the map with you.
Be
really,
surprised
would
by
you?
how many people do, though.
No, they do, but it's the same with any route planning software. If you say, I want to start here and I want to end there, but you don't look at the snake in the middle.
Yeah, it'll have a guess, but...
Yeah. And it might put you on your A59 rather than taking you down a nice country road.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, I managed to put myself on the A66 for about 300 metres on Saturday, so it does
Hell of
happen.
the Northwest has got a 4-kilometre detour to make sure you can cross near Bernard Castle safely.
Yeah.
On that.
Well, that's where we were.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a nightmare around there, but.
Yeah. I didn't think it was a problem until I actually DJ'd at a wedding on the other side of the Pennines, and I went over that road and I was like, Jesus Christ, what is this road?
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be riding.
And then I went, I can see Tan Hill, I can see it.
Yeah, there's a few roads up there you really wouldn't want to be riding a bike on.
No. But that is, again, that's knowledge and knowing where you're planning putting yourself. Although it does need a tunnel or a bridge, that road. Yeah. It really does. I'm surprised it didn't.
It's mad.
Mad. It's that really fast mental dual carriageway road, and there's no safe way to cross over it at all. It's bonkers. So it really is.
Yeah, so I encountered that at the weekend. It was great.
Yeah.
Survived. Lived to tell the tale.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for coming. Hopefully our paths will cross at some point soon. I'm probably going to be leaving all the signs up and everything because I'm going to personally be back here in a few weeks' time to greet some riders off. And if you do see a few riders, I don't think they come past your way actually.
They're not too far away. I had the Dales Divide at the weekend came right past my front door, so I was out chalking the roads the night before.
Ah, right.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't think Hill and Northwest.
No, because it goes straight from here over towards Cross of Great.
Yeah. And
then straight out towards Ingleton.
Where does it come? Because it goes into the lakes, doesn't it?
It goes through the lakes, but basically it does into the C3, Honister, Newlands, and Winlatter, and then it curves around, does Hardknot Pass, but then turns right and goes towards Trover, and then drops down to the bottom of Grisdale Forest, and then goes over Grisdale, over, and then goes up over Hawkshead because you have to, Ambleside, Struggle, and then down Kirkstone to Peel Bridge, then it goes across the Eden Valley and then goes over Tan Hill
Right. Okay. No. It won't,
Yeah,
it
so
won't
that's
possibly be.
its exit from the lakes is Tam
Sounds like
Hill.
fun, doesn't it? Should we do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
845k with over 15k of climbing.
Yeah, that's a big day out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
two,
you guys
two-
are trying.
two and a bit days.
Actually, you guys are trying to guess who finishes time, weren't you?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
this year. Did you manage to pick a time in your head?
I think it sounds like
There is a 3-hour continuous break rule, by the way, on Hell of the Northwest. Just to add to your maths,
As
do they
in-
have to stop continuously for a minimum of 3 hours at some point during the ride?
right.
That's mostly for safety, much for the 15 kilometres of downhill, and as much as
I reckon
everything
some
else.
lunatic will do it in 2.5 days, whatever that is in maths.
48 at 12.
Yeah,
So that'd be
60 odd hours,
60 hours.
something like that.
60 hours. What do you?
Well, then I suppose I think I might go for 57.
57 hours.
That's
Yeah.
the racing side of things. She just wants to win.
She wants a sub 60, doesn't
Yeah,
she?
she does.
Yeah.
'Cause
It's
somebody
amazing
will.
that though. We're talking.
Somebody will.
We're talking like in 60 hours to guessing the time.
It just feels like that's a huge achievement. And you're right. I think it will be very dependent on the weather.
Mm.
How
Yeah,
fast
I
it's
think if the
going.
sun's out and there's a gentle breeze actually. You don't want no wind because I
No.
think you'll suffer more there.
Mm.
But a gentle breeze, I think that would be perfect riding.
Yeah,
So yeah, we just got to
absolutely.
fingers crossed for everybody.
Fingers crossed for that. And for our races as well. We've had some biblical races in the last couple of
Yeah,
years.
well,
in July
my
and August.
yeah, well, last time Hell of the Northwest it was hell for them. It was the wettest weekend on record.
Good. Well, only the first race we ever did was sunny, and we thought, oh, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
And
This
then
is
I think
great fun.
every
Let's be race
single race is-
organisers.
And it was a Cape race, so it was,
Yeah.
end of March,
It
early
was
April.
a beautiful day.
Glorious spring day.
And then every single race afterwards, I think it's rained.
Yeah.
And some of them, it's not just been rain, it's been hail.
Wildboar Park was beautiful weather. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was evening and it was around 18 degrees.
No, we've never got anywhere near that.
Started with
No, no.
two pedal strokes in and you're doing 14% uphill sprint.
Nice.
That's how I started my, yeah.
There you go.
For everybody, that was the only place on the course I could set off a mass group start
Yeah.
to BC rules. It genuinely was. Because it was mountain biking, so everything else was single track.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. It was great fun because some of the guys you could tell didn't bother to actually check their gears. And you could just hear this clunking of chains going through cassettes.
Yeah, I've been there a few times.
I
Yeah.
always had really no gears. Always.
Yeah.
Just hit the bottom one and then
Yeah.
keep
Yeah, but
going.
it also had a climb in there called Stem Snogger, that course. It was so steep, but because it was off-road and you had to stay seated, you were kissing your stem to get traction.
Oh, see, I find that quite difficult, being really small and really light.
Mm.
Is standing up and
Powering,
yeah, that I find that
what,
much
off-road
harder.
or
Like,
on-road.
both really.
Mm.
Both really. When I've done cross and you have kind of
Yeah.
steep bits going
Yeah.
up, I'm still doing them
Yeah.
seated. I'm not really much of a stander upper.
Remember the first time I did hard knot, and again 90 odd kilos trying to get up hard knot, standing up, leaning so far forward, you're absolutely certain you're going to fall off, but you don't know whether you're going backwards, forwards, sideways, like just yeah.
Yeah, first
It's-
time I did hard knot, it was actually almost 20 years ago to the year.
Oh.
I was 17, we were doing coast to coast, it was our first trip away, we had backpacks with far too much stuff in them, and I remember I came to a complete standstill. I was on my mountain bike pedals and I actually managed to unclip and jump off and land at the side of my bike perfectly.
Amazing.
And I was really impressed with that, apart from
Wow.
the fact I now knew I had to go downhill to get some momentum to
get-
turn around
Get back up.
to actually get going again.
I think I've done it 4 or maybe 5 times. The first time I set myself the challenge of trying to get to the first cattle grid. You know, the one in the woods at the
Yeah.
bottom. Yeah, that was my challenge the first time. Right, definitely going to get to that.
It's
First
the
time I-
first, you hit a brick wall though.
Yeah.
As soon as you hit that climb, you've got to hit it.
Yeah,
You know,
First-
you've got to give it everything and a little bit more going up Hard Knot Pass.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
the way I see it now, like if you're on a really, really big ride and you get Hard Knot Pass, I think it's less than 3 kilometres Hard Knot Pass.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is, if you're doing a 200 kilometre ride, and if you can't get up Hard Knot, that's 2% of a 100k ride that
Yeah.
you've got to get off and push your bike up.
Yeah.
It's more
You
the
know.
descent, to be honest. These days,
I don't mind the dyno.
No, I didn't mind the downhill.
Well,
I-
it's
I
not
would-
on hard enough, but the descent you do on the Fred anyway. The descent
Oh,
you do on
the-
rhinos is
Rhinos is ridiculously scary, the proximity you are to them rocks, you know, and you can't help but do 60 kilometres an hour without even trying.
I can't really remember that bit of the ride when I did
You
it.
did it on
'cause
that horrendously
I did-
wet,
yeah,
like the
that-
hailstone
Yeah.
year.
the worst, just the worst year. I didn't even get to meet the people in the car park that I was supposed to do it with, so I rode it by myself.
Right.
And I seriously don't remember what hard knot and rhinos look like.
Yeah.
I just remember getting on the flat bit afterwards and thinking, okay, how much further is the end?
Yeah. Well, in those days it was the old route as well, so you would have gone up Hawkshead Hill,
Yeah.
which they never told you about. And that
No,
old
that
route.
was it right at the beginning. So I never wanted to do it again. I never will do it again.
I'm doing it this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those is just
I was a bit
flag
too
for us.
cheap. I prefer doing the Cumbrian 200 Audax instead. You turn right before hard knot, but then you've got 3 stabby bastards instead.
You go over Burker,
You go do Burker, and then you've got the ridiculously steep one after that.
Kilnbank Cross,
Yeah.
which is 3 pitches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you just cross 100 miles at the top of Burker,
Yeah.
fell on the 200, and you've just eaten a load of sugary crap in Eskdale at the post
Yeah.
office.
Good little stop that as well.
It is a good little stop, but all the sugar is gone at the 100-mile mark, so you're now on the sugar crash.
Yeah, and there's quite a long way to civilization from the top of Burker.
Yeah, and then you get to this one, and it's just that little bit too steep with my skinny legs as well. That you just end up pushing a bit of that climb
Yeah.
because the ramp's really savage on that one.
There's a
And
nice-
then you've got the never-ending climb of doom heading towards Trover after that,
Yeah.
which just pitches just ever so steep that it hurts, but not steep enough that you're having to put a lot of power into
That's the one.
climb.
That's the one.
And then you've got the suicidal downhill onto the A road going
Yeah,
into
that's
Trover.
right. Into Coniston. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good road that.
No, it's good. And then luckily you can find a friend to get you over Hawkshead.
Yeah.
And then I always buy a cider at the co-op, and I put it in my bottle, and I put my bid on in my rear pocket, and I'm like, that's when I get home. That. Yeah.
Tactics. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Oh, you're
Sounds
making me
good.
want to go and ride those hills again. It's brilliant.
We'll have to arrange a day out. I've got a
Soon.
lovely day out actually on the solstice weekend.
Nice.
So it's called A Day in Hell. It's 240k with over 4,000 metres of climbing, but none of the roads ever cross.
Nice. There were quite a lot of good challenges knocking about during lockdown. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
any
I
of
did
those
see him. Unfortunately, I was a bit busy at work during all of that.
Sure.
So I didn't actually make it with that challenge in mind either. I just made this route, and then it basically starts in Goosner and heads basically along the bottom climb, going almost. What's that hill near the Apple Store Cafe that everyone goes to the top of? Goes
from
across.
Scotland?
Yeah, from Scorton at the.
Oh, I can't remember what it's
Anyway.
called. I know the one you mean.
Yeah, anyway, it
Is
heads along.
Star Lane or something? I think
Yeah,
it's
Scarlet, yeah.
Star Lane.
So it
something
goes
like that.
across the top along there, and then it turns right up Jubilee,
Yep.
up the tough side, and then comes back over the trough, and then does cross a grate, and then it does all the way up to Ribblehead, and
Right.
then it basically goes across Malham Moor,
Nice.
and then it comes back and goes over Bowland Knots, and then goes through Grindleton, and then does Waddy Fell, but then so it doesn't cross, it goes over Cowark, and then it drops all the way down into the bottom of Ribchester, so then you have to go all the way it then goes over Birdie, but then turns left all the way to the bottom of Ribchester, and then you've got to go all the way up from the bottom of Ribchester to the top of Jeffrey Hill, doing the full climb
I bet
before you
people
then
are
drop into.
cursing you at this point.
Pardon?
I bet people are cursing you at this point in this ride.
Yeah. Oh,
let's be
especially after
honest,
doing Birdie, but then finally you got to do a full Jeffrey.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's
I think Birdie Brow's
right
one of
near
the
the end
hardest
as well.
trails.
Birdie Brow's the last climb to do in Hell of the Northwest.
I think it's a really tough climb actually.
It's brutal. There's a young lad who's Everested it who's going to be the next one to video.
Yeah.
Actually, 14-year-old Zach Burgess.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was
goodness.
at the Mountain Festival, wasn't he?
Yeah,
He was really good actually. He was on the same panel as a friend of mine, Jess Fawcett, who rides with the Internationals.
yeah.
He was really good actually. He was really impressive on that. And the video was really fun as well. He did a YouTube video of his Everesting. It was really good.
Yeah,
Really good.
yeah. But no, that's the last climb on Hell. the Northwest. But to be a little bit kind, you've then got the gentle road after Hell of the Northwest, all the way back to the cinema here. Like, originally on the first Hell of the Northwest, it was meant to start and finish in Clitheroe, which means that when they did it last year, they did Waddy Fell, but then they had that beautiful downhill and they could see Clitheroe in the distance. So they just got to descend and just take everything that they've just done, because there's a lot to take in after that kind of ride. And I'd rather reward them with a nice dino where you can just let everything go, and just relax and just breathe normally and just enjoy your sense of accomplishment before you've even finished it, I do try and be nice like that, really.
See, if it was one of our races, we'd put a hill at the end.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be as savage as you've been with the whole route, but we'd
but we'd probably make them go up that hill 7 times.
Yeah, 7 or 8 times.
Yeah. Right, just make them do lots of hills. There's over an Everesting in that whole ride.
Yeah.
Well, how far is Everesting's 8.5?
8.5 something, yeah.
There might be 2 Everestings if Rider GPS is very far out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the things with BC is that, certain categories have to have a certain length of ride. But if it has more than a certain meterage of climbing, then the length can be shorter.
Right.
Which I think is the way it should be, really.
Yeah.
Because,
It means we can run slightly shorter races as well, because there's always going to be the meterage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you not want to push for different courses?
I think it's to do with how difficult it is to get them risk assessed.
Right.
Because they have to be, if you look at the risk assessment for each course, it probably runs to about 25 pages.
Okay.
And they're very specifically itemised as to who has to go on what corner and what has to be done and where all the... And there's photographs and there's everything. And I think it probably costs quite a lot to get those done, and even more difficult to get those new routes put on, because I think BC employed a number of risk assessors about 6-7 years ago who did this. Yeah. And then I think if they were going to do it again, they would have to
re-employ more.
Quite a big
Plus we've
move.
I mean, we've used kind of 3 courses. So we've used Oakenclough, we're using Ufton this year, and we've got Cakenray.
And we used Dolphin Home one year.
We used Dolphin Home last year, and no one was friendly with us for a little while after we did that. And
what, the locals, you mean?
Well, the locals weren't.
No, the locals have been great. No, the riders they weren't very pleased with using Dolphin Home. It's quite a hard circuit.
The number of volunteers you need for it, because every single cattle grid that goes over the top has to be
manned.
Yeah, so it's double the number of volunteers of any other race.
But there's at least 3 or 4 courses that we could use that we haven't used. There's Old Hutton, there's Pilling, there's any number of different courses.
Yeah, there's a few Cockerham, Nakeby, there's a few flat courses near here, and Old Hutton, and then you go into courses like the Basher Leaves course, the long course and the short course and things like that, which I'm not so familiar with because it's just a little bit.
No, the Green Jersey use them as time trial courses, don't they? The Basher ones,
But I
could do Pimbo, I suppose.
We could do Pimbo.
Everybody does Pimbo, don't they?
No, we're not doing Pimbo.
No, we're not.
Is that
exclusive for your video? We're not doing races at Pimbo.
Nope.
What about hill climb season? Because I was talking to you, wasn't I, about hill climb season. Are you going to be putting on some hill climbs?
It would be great.
I think we'd like to. Yeah. I don't know whether we will this year or not, but we're going to be involved with the struggle again. So that's one we're actually doing. But we'll also, last time we sponsored the pain face category because Ellen Isherwood was out taking photos.
Yeah.
And we had a social campaign after that, for people to judge who had the most ridiculous pain face coming up the struggle, which is a category that I'm firmly going to try and win this year. Mm-hmm. Even though we're putting the prize up, I'm going to try and win it. But I mean, I think we would like to do hill climbs at some point. They're relatively easy to organise, aren't they? I think. In the grand scheme of things.
I think so. Them easier to organise than road races.
It's a time trial.
Yeah. Time trial.
I had a few. Well, living in the Bowland and putting on climbs, it's something I've always wanted. Although I did try just running as a kind of evening social for a laugh. Made some really hilly time trial circuits, which are trying to follow as closer to CTT kind of rule as you can without actually making it an official CTT event. I'm going to look at seeing if that's actually a thing that might take off, or whether it might confuse people a bit too much, really. It's not a time trial, it's not a hill climb, and there's a big downhill because obviously, there.
Yeah, I suppose you have to worry about, insurance and things like that.
It's where you draw the line, really. It's like this is just a fun ride out, but then if people start taking it seriously and that's when you go from amateur to pro. So, and then there's a few stabby courses around here, which are really nasty. A bit like there's a few going up to Beacon Fell. There's one from what's called the Otters Dam, which is a new, got there, finishing right. Yeah. And
you were talking about that one the other day, weren't you?
Is that Crumble Home Lane?
Yes.
Yeah.
You were talking about that the other day.
Yeah, it's also, if you're familiar with the boost test, which is a running test, it's a maximal progressive hill climb. It actually gets steeper the further you get along the course, which means that pacing it is impossible because the higher you get up the climb, the steeper the climb actually gets. It's
Funny
brilliant.
enough, it was on our end of season ride a couple of years ago, and we had, I think, 2 people suffering with hypothermia by the end of that. So it was cold when they did.
Yeah,
it's probably a good
it'll
place
warm
to
you up going
exactly.
over that. Yeah,
so we put it in. It's a nice little winter warmer.
That's what that is. What keeps you going on a cold winter's ride? Put a hill in because you'll get warm.
Yeah. Or whiskey.
Yeah.
Or both.
Whiskey.
Yeah.
Whiskey hills.
Hit flask.
There's an idea. We could do that.
Yeah, we could just do something with team. I've always wanted, because so much of the racing is individual, and I quite like the idea of teams, and they don't have to be club teams. They can just be teams of friends, and I quite like the idea that people get to ride with each other as a group rather than just being individuals against one another.
No, I totally. So on normal ultra race kind of rules, solo effort, or you can enter as a team. So you're not allowed to draft another fellow competitor. It's a solo effort. So if you're catching up to somebody, it's almost like when you watch the Tour de France team time trial races, where they have to completely pull out and overtake, and then the other guy, it's almost like customary to drop back a little bit, whereas I'm allowing up to 6 riders to ride together. Also, because it's such a hilly ride that you're not really going to get an aerodynamic advantage, but you'll probably get your peers helping you actually achieve and setting on something that's such a difficult ride, even for a fit person to kind of do. Having other people there who you can just chat a load of crap to, whilst you're suffering is actually not a bad thing, really, to put out for people. So definitely riding as a team and helping each other. Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think so. So I'd like there to be something like that at some point in the future. And there's this thing about British cycling points, and at the moment, because of the situation, there are no points for any races, and I kind of quite like that.
Yeah,
it's quite nice at the moment because of that.
The pressure's not there.
Yeah, and you don't get people who are just chasing points. You get people who probably want to race, and some of the women are more inclined to race in a women's race if they don't feel, we have to be first, second or third, and there's points and there's this.
Yeah.
It's
or you could almost just give it a bit of a go, take a risk.
Absolutely.
And if it doesn't work out, that's fine.
Yeah.
And if it did work out, that's absolutely great.
No, that's true. That's true. That's what we're noticing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Women are much more reticent at trying this. They want to know they're going to be safe, so they would rather go and do a session around that track to see the corners, to see where the sprints are, whereas men are much more likely to enter just because they're strong and powerful, but they've never ridden around a track in a large group of people.
And quite often do a horrible job when it comes to the actual race.
So it's kind of interesting seeing the differences.
Actually being female race organiser, has that had an impact, do you think, on females racing in the area?
I think it has a little bit, because I know so many different groups of people, and I'm very encouraging of people giving it a go, saying, look, the guys who race don't all think they're going to get points. It's just fun for them.
Yeah.
So you can race, and even if you get lapped, you'll be racing with the people you're still with. So don't worry about, you just feel great afterwards, because you'll have had nearly an hour's full out session, and you'll feel wonderful. So I try and encourage women to do that, and some women really love it. Some women are a bit scared of it afterwards and would really prefer to do triathlons or time trialing or things like that.
Yeah.
But I think women are really competitive. They just don't let on quite so much. I am, and I don't let on quite so much.
She is. She does let on a little bit. But
Does
she
she?
is. She definitely is.
So, yeah.
No, it's great to see. There's a few female race organisers that I've kind of come across, and I find the impact it's kind of had on women as racers, seeing that, you know, like I'm part of the Midweek Madness syndicate, and we had Karen Long until she's just moved up north, helping organise and everything that, and just seeing, I think for a lot of the women, seeing that there's a woman that's actually helping to organise everything and put it out there has had a really positive impact. And there's been a lot of women that have come up through the amateur ranks, if you will, you know, that are just, you know, even if they're just trashing out on a Wednesday evening, they're just, it's just great to see more women actually out and riding.
Absolutely, and I would make a appeal for more women to go into being comms, especially road comms, because I'm a circuit
and
comm.
mountain bike comms.
Because it
mountain bike comms.
Yeah, it would make a massive difference, because road comming is really quite skilled, because you're in a car doing all this, whereas I'm just standing on a circuit. And it would be great if more women did it, because even sometimes now, even when I'm chief comm, then the guys in a race will go and ask my assistant about questions, and they won't ask me because they make assumptions that I'm probably not in charge because I'm very small and whatever. And it's really difficult because you don't want to go over and say, excuse me, you should be asking me this, because it makes you sound a little bit arsey. So I'm not quite sure how I get around that one.
High vis vest with chief comm on.
I remember that.
I mean, we've always, like, our races have always been really prominently equal prize money.
Yeah,
like
really.
We did a kit launch a couple of years ago where the funds, you know, all the profits from that went towards supporting getting people, women into racing. You know, it's just part of our DNA. It's really important that we encourage women to race, ride, have fun, do what they want to do, you know.
And it never occurred to us for it not to be equal prize money.
No.
It just never entered our heads. And in fact, I was quite surprised when I saw kind of world tour riders talking about the prize money they got for doing TTs and things like that, realising that we offered more prize money for Cape and Ray than world tour riders were getting for doing these TTs. And women, I mean, not men.
Haven't crowdfunded them either. It's not crowdfunded.
No.
Although we would if, you know, thought we'd get the money.
Yeah, but it's true. And we have seen, you know, I think there's a real surge of young women who are very exciting and very strong in racing. So I hope that goes on for a long time.
Definitely. And the domestic scene, you know, it's great to see people putting things on, you know, and especially in the area, really. It's one reason I got into putting on events, really. There was no one putting on talks in the area, and I wanted a talk. That's literally how Random Adventure started. No one was doing it around here, so I was like, well, best get on. And do it.
And it was like us taking over Cape and Ray.
No one was doing it, let's do it.
Nobody was, the guy who's organising it wanted to stop organising it. And he just said, well, do you know anybody who might want to do that? And then I talked to Toby and I said, well, I'd quite like to have a go. Is that, you know, what you think? And he said, yeah, why not? And that's how it all started.
Here we are.
Have to be really careful, though, because otherwise she will start trying to put on national road races, which... You know, we haven't really got the capacity for it at the moment.
No,
not yet.
Not yet.
No. We could make a really good circuit.
Yeah, we could definitely make a really good circuit.
We could try putting on a national circuit race. I have a closed road circuit in mind for it, which is quite hilly.
Yeah,
definitely quite hilly.
That's in the pipeline.
Yeah.
I think you could use 3 bowland climbs and make a closed circuit race. Actually, that would be very exciting.
Yeah, hard.
Yeah, just make it around Jeffrey Hill, Birdie.
That wouldn't be a race. That would just be a ride of attrition.
Actually, it would be a battle royale, wouldn't it? It'd be last man standing.
It really would. It would be the
original
fantastic. Tour de France.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Though, just keep them going around and around and around, and just have the lapping rule. Yeah.
It's something to think about. Cogs go.
Can see them going.
Yeah.
Right, we have actually hit an hour.
Wow.
And we've only done half a battery as well, so that's really testament to the camera, actually.
There we go.
Yeah, blessed are the battery makers.
And the cheese makers.
Yes. No, thank you so much for
Pleasure.
taking the
Oh,
time
thank
out. I'm sorry that you
been
weren't
great
able
fun.
to sit in my garden doing this, but
Yeah, same. But we've got a
Yeah.
good chippy instead.
yeah, we've got a chippy instead.
Top chippy, in fact.
Top chippy, quite literally. Thank you to the Palace Cinema though for hosting us.
Amazing place.
Yes, and we will be having some talks and some things actually here soon
Great.
in the pipeline. Can't say much more. Um,
Looking forward to it.
yeah, hopefully it might last an hour. That's the only clue.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.